Well, hello everyone, and you join us here today to have a bit of a conversation. As usual, Tom and I are quite sick of each other, so we've thrown someone else into the mix. We've brought in Mike France from Christopher Ward, and we're going to talk Bel Canto. What was intended to be a 20-minute conversation with Mike ended up being much longer. This is the very short version. If you want to hear the whole conversation, there's a link in the description below. I thoroughly recommend making the time for it. Mike's insights into the industry were fascinating. Anyway, on with the show. Hello Mike, how are you doing?
I'm really well. Thank you, Andrew. And thank you, Tom. Thanks for the invitation.
Great to speak to you.
Yeah, Bel Canto. When I saw the price, my immediate thought was, you are insane. You're going to... It will sell, but I don't see how you're going to make any profit from it. Where did this all come from?
It started almost now sort of 10 years ago with the jumping hour, I suppose. And at the time, our master watchmaker was a real sort of genius called Johannes Janker. Johannes is the guy who designed our own in-house movement, the Caliber SH21, which were later on, well, not this year, but in the autumn of 23, we'll be launching the 2.0 version of Caliber SH21. But you know, he created this jumping hour module, which sat above a SW200. It's a really clever piece of work, and I often find that, this is way beyond my pay grade. I'm not an engineer, and I'm in awe of people who have that sort of ability to think three-dimensionally in terms of how things can work and how they can simplify. And often it's the simplified way that is the most effective way of doing things. So taking an SW200, building a module on top of it that created the most accurate, and we haven't sold this well enough at all, it's the most accurate jumping hour in the world. And this is a man, and you know, Johannes, who does nothing by halves. You know, we have a moon phase watch, for God's sake. You know, that is one of the very few perpetual moon phases in existence, in that
I didn't know that.
I know. And again, it's my fault, you know, because we haven't done a good enough job. This is a perpetual moon phase that if the watch is kept fully wound, it will track perfectly the phases of the moon in real time for 128 years.
Oh, really? Wow.
You know, it is quite an incredible thing. But in the Bel Canto's specific case, Frank Stelzer, who I know I think you've spoken with,
yes,
Andrew, yeah. Frank, who worked alongside Johannes, helping to create Caliber SH21 and all these other wonderful modules. Frank himself is an incredible engineer. I mean, really humble man, but an incredible brain. And you know, one of those in the bath moments, I think he realised in a flash of inspiration that it should be possible to translate the jumping hour module into a watch that had a chime attached to it. Yeah, he could turn that into a chiming watch by changing a number of wheels, a number of things in the movement, in the module that was created originally by Johannes and him. The team of designers, you know, they're predetermined people, and they have very high standards. And so the idea was, look, why don't we do something little out of the ordinary, certainly for, say, us, and we'll show all of the key elements of a chiming watch above the platine. Yes, great idea. Love that idea. Sketches. Yeah, that's fantastic. What do you think, Frank? I don't know what the German is for expletives, but you know, suddenly we've given Frank a huge headache because everything had to change, and then you're into a process that took months and months and months and months, if not years. You know, where every aspect of the aesthetics, to improve the aesthetics, and that was always the thing that we wanted to get right, led to an engineering solution or problem that then led to a solution. And so it was this iterative process of a wonderful original idea by Johannes that was then developed much further by Frank, which was then taken to a different level by the design team, who I think did an absolutely outstanding job. And then, of course, you've got the involvement of some of the very top level watchmaking companies and suppliers of movements and parts of movements in the industry in Switzerland, involved in the creation of this watch. The Bel Canto it's not the idea of one person. It's not me. It's not, it's a lot of people coming together, all with an absolute dedication to deliver the best they can. And we're lucky enough in this instance that effort has led to something that has the potential literally to be quite transformational for us, and maybe transformational for some other businesses involved as well, because the reaction to the Bel Canto has been quite staggering.
Well, you say that with great humbleness, might be transformative. For me, it is an absolute game changer, because it brings something that should be 3-4 times the cost to an affordable audience. We spoke about some of the detail of how it's produced and how that was achieved in our previous review video. So dear viewer and listener, if you want to see that, you can check that out over on our channel, link in the description. But what really fascinated me, and what I didn't communicate so much, was the people side of this process. When I came in a few months before the launch and we spoke about it, you were hesitant about the potential success of the watch.
Well, we thought we had a good watch on our hands. We knew it was a lovely watch, but I never ever assume that that things are going to be as successful as sometimes they turn out. I mean, you just never know until you put something in front of the people who really matter. And with respect, that's not even you, Andrew.
Well, I'm Mr. Slot, so no, I don't count, unfortunately.
It's the customers.
You can't afford one.
It's those customers. They will make or break anything. And yes, we thought we had something really good on our hands. But what surprised us was the level of response. And in fairness, to be honest, and this is where we do owe some thanks to you, Andrew, and others, who immediately did see that this was something different, that might even be something special, and were prepared to say that. And because you have, incredibly, people who listen to your podcasts.
We don't get it either, to be honest.
The word got around. And so it wasn't just us saying, this is a good watch. A lot of people who are respected in the industry said similar things. And so it just seemed to have a groundswell. I mean, I've been involved in, over the course of my career, I've seen this happen maybe no more than half a dozen times to this level. It's a chemical reaction that nobody literally can ever predict.
Yeah.
You just don't know. And there's a bit of luck attached to it as well. There always is. You always need a bit of luck, But it's the culminate. If good people are doing good things, eventually I'm a real believer that something special can occur. It doesn't always happen like that, and it often takes longer than you want it to take. But actually, we've got some really, not just within Christopher Ward, but some really great people involved in this watch. And as described earlier, it's not just a sort of a one-off. There's a thread that goes through a number of years that then leads to this chemical reaction that you then can't really expect, but you've got to recognize it when it happens. And that's the stage we're at now, where there's a recognition that this is, there's a tiger here. Now let's grab hold of the tail and let's see where that tiger takes us, because it is a very important watch for us, certainly.
Not to diminish the success of Christopher Ward in and of itself, but it almost feels like, from what you've said, that's a proof of concept at a lower level for what could be achieved, and the Bel Canto is the first real expression of what happens if we push this, we turn this up to 11. I was especially surprised by the reaction when I spoke to the design team. The watch came out and it was gone in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
I passed my congratulations, and the response I got back was really one of shock and just fear of the unknown. What does this mean now? We expected to sell 300 with another 300 next year. We have to bring that 300 forwards, and now we've got somewhere in the region of 10 times as much interest as we expected, and we're in a little bit of a panic as to what to do with it. How do you cope with that? What do you do?
Well, you cope with it by, to be honest, being quite cold. And this is my approach to these things anyway.
Hence the holiday in Barbados afterwards, I think.
Absolutely.
Warm back up again.
So it's like you have to then assess the situation quite calmly, carefully, work through what can be done. Do you want to chase the tiger? Do you want to let this happen? That's a big decision in the first instance. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, we do, is the answer. Okay, how do we make that happen then? In the first instance, how do we multiply the potential number of watches we can create here in a relatively short period of time very significantly? Well, that's a process of conversations that have been taking place between us and our supply partners, etc., etc. And we think we now have the solution. And so, during the course of 23, we will be producing a significant number of series Bel Cantos. Obviously, the limited edition blue and the greens, they're limited, that's gone. But there are a number of really superb colours that we had always been interested in thinking about, and actually were considered even for the first two. And we'll make those open series, a number of additional colours, and we will promise to deliver those people who've already registered interest in Bel Canto beyond the 600 we've been able to support. I've already written to those people and told them that we have the opportunity, if they're still interested, in enabling them to own a Bel Canto before Christmas 23. And you won't believe the response has been absolutely astonishing. So I would suggest 90% of those people who registered are pretty much signed up now for a Bel Canto at some period from the middle of the year through to the end of the year.
But you sounded still yet surprised that the people who had registered an interest in the Bel Canto, when they were told that they would be able to get one before Christmas next year, you were still surprised by that. I've held one of those things. It's amazing.
I mean, surprised, delighted. It's a privilege. I mean, it's just most of us, and I'm sure you're the same, we don't take compliments well.
We're very British, aren't we?
We're very British about it, and so and you never know when the next, I don't want to be a hostage to fortune here, but the team deserve the credit, because they have, I know the amount of time, effort, argument, frustration, pain that they went through to deliver this, and that's what makes it special for us. And the fact that they are surprised when you say that they were surprised when you spoke, I love that, because it keeps them humble as well. They're humble. They're not arrogant. And the best work is done, in my view, by people who are humble. Not. I'm a Lionel Messi man rather than a Cristiano Ronaldo man.
I have no idea about football. I know that is football, but I don't know. I'm sure our listeners will understand. I have no idea.
Some of them, I'm sure, will. It's very pertinent right at the moment, I think.
But perhaps some of the horror from the team as well was the realization that, you've had some good singles with some of the entry-level Christopher Ward stuff. This has been your breakthrough album. There's going to be a tricky second album.
Second album, yeah. Well, I think it's a while off because these things, as you know, Andrew, take some time. But my goodness, we've got some great EPs coming out in the interim. One I was were testing in Barbados actually, which is I played back to the design team yesterday. I think it's an absolutely wonderful piece, and we'll be launching that in May. But if you like, the more natural follow-on for the Bel Canto is we have the idea, we know what we want to do, and we're now at that beginning phase of turning that into sort of aesthetics and all the rest of it before we give Frank another nervous breakdown.
I'd ask for a teaser of any kind, but I doubt I'm going to get one.
No, you wouldn't want me to spoil the surprise.
No, that's fair enough. Well, I have to say as well, you've given us credit for getting the word out there, but I think our video came out after they were all sold out anyway. They were gone so quickly.
It did, but I think they I mean, in hours. The first one, the blue, was a sluggish sale. That took 7.5 hours. The green went in 2.
Wow.
It was just remarkable.
And how many people can you say do you currently have registered an interest for one? And you can add one more to that because I have just signed up.
Well, put it this way: we're talking 5 figures now.
Wow.
Okay. I'm not going to get one before Christmas next year, am I? I'll get one at some point.
You might. But you need to. If you haven't registered, as you've just said you're going to, you need to register quickly.
I have literally just registered. So
yeah, good.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. We've taken up a lot more of your time than we had originally intended. So apologies for that, but thank you so much for sharing. Absolutely fascinating.
Thank you. And really enjoyable talking to you guys as well. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. If you would like us, dear viewer and listener, to have a further conversation with Mike, perhaps you've got some questions that you would like to ask, pop those down in the comments below. He seems to know a lot about the industry and is quite willing to talk about it, so let's see what we can get out of him next time. Thank you so much, Mike. It's been fascinating and an utter privilege to talk to you and be a small part in the Bel Canto experience. Thank you, dear viewer and listener, for listening. Please do like, comment, subscribe. Click all the links in the description below, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.